just announced a massive 21 trillion yen liquidity injection last night, and it looks like this could be spreading to the rest of the world. And couldn't confirm it, but there's rumors circulating that the Federal Reserve is scrambling and could have an emergency meeting today over liquidity concerns. But will it save the markets, or will it be too little too late? So guys, I've been telling you to watch what's going on in Japan for a while now, and it finally hit the fan, guys. Anyways, of course, I'm here with Nico, and we do have the founder of SilentLink calling in live with us, so he's going to be hanging out in the background. You will hear his voice, but let me jump straight into this, guys, because it's getting pretty crazy out there, and a lot of people have been connecting this with what's going on in the Bitcoin price. So let me just cover the news, and I will get some Bitcoin takes from this. I'll kind of explain why you should be watching this, why this is even being brought up on today's show. It has huge implications, to say the least. So I'm over here on CNBC. Here's the headline. Japan announces $135 billion stimulus, NHK reports, in bid to support economy and consumers. The package aims to address rising prices, achieve a strong economy, and strengthen defense and diplomatic capabilities. Going further, of course, this is 21.3 trillion in Japanese yen, which translates to about 135.5 billion in US dollars. On Friday, they're a little ahead, so it basically happened this morning / last night. Anyways, it's to boost their country's slowing economy and offer support to inflation hit consumers. Now, 135 billion, you're probably looking at this and you're like, this isn't even that big. Like, what are we talking about? The U.S. has trillions of debt. If the U.S. wants to inject liquidity, it needs to be in the trillions. Well, for Japan, this is the biggest stimulus package since 2020. So maybe 135 billion isn't that big compared to the U.S. economy, but this is a huge liquidity injection in Japan. Now, going over on Twitter, again, you guys know I've been mentioning Kobayashi letter a lot, and they were covering this. Breaking: Japan's government says it may intervene before Japanese yen to US dollar ratio reaches 160. That's been kind of the number that once they hit that number, they are going to for sure inject liquidity. Well, it looks like they intervened before this, guys. Again, $135 billion direct stimulus injection into the economy. And going further, it actually looks like it's going to be essentially double that size. And I'm going to break out what this means. So Japan government adopts $21.3 trillion yen comprehensive economic package. Again, this is just a direct injection economic package for state funds aiming to achieve a strong economy through strategic fiscal spending. It's the first economic package by their new president of Japan. Again, they're fighting high prices. They're Prime Minister. Okay, my bad. They're fighting high prices. They're trying to figure out the fiscal policy. And so I'm just breaking down exactly what happened. Now I'm going to break down the implications in a minute. So, but this also includes related spending by the private sector of 42.8 trillion yen. So it could be what, 260 billion injected into their economy. Now, I know you're sitting here and you're like, okay, but why do I even care about what's going on in Japan? And this is where it gets really tricky. And also, this is where the implications come up. So I'm going to pull out some good some good tweets, because they really kind of break it down. I'm not going to read all these tweets. I'm just going to kind of pick little portions of this. But we have this tweet: the global financial system just broke in Tokyo. This section, why you should care. And this is what I've been telling you guys for a while. Every major bank, hedge fund, and institution on earth has borrowed yen at cheap rates and invested it elsewhere for the last 30 years. This carry trade could be worth anywhere from $350 billion to $4 trillion, and nobody knows the real number because it's hidden in derivatives. When Japan's system breaks, the money unwinds fast. This is what we're starting to see. And a lot of people have been connecting this to the Bitcoin price. Now, obviously, we don't really know what's going on. I've been seeing a couple rumors about what's going on. People are saying maybe the October 10th collapse, the price crash. Maybe there's some institutions that, got hit really hard. They're trying to unwind their positions. That could be what some of these big, huge sales are. The other people, or the other side right now, is saying that what we're seeing in the yen right now is most likely what's dragging down not just the Bitcoin price, but all markets. And again, it's because what I've been telling you guys for a minute, you could look at the Bank of Japan, essentially like the venture capital central bank of the world. You take really low interest loans there, and then you deploy that everywhere else. And as one of my favorite kind of conspiracy theories, tinfoil hat views for Bitcoin is the reason Satoshi Nakamoto picked the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto is basically as a nod to say, hey, if the US doesn't figure their stuff out right now, if they continue to keep printing, if our debt to GDP ratio continues to expand, America could be Japan. And as we're seeing, it is finally hitting the fan right now. You're looking at what's going on in Japan. I've been covering the bond rates for a while. The bond rates in Japan our interest yields are at the highest they've ever been. Things are getting a little hairy right now, and this could be why we're seeing so many issues in the market. Of course, we've been covering for a while that the Fed repo markets, there's been liquidity concerns in not only regional banks, but at the Fed level. Now we're seeing that this is happening on the central bank level. Now, can this stimulus injection save the Japanese economy and essentially save the global economy? We really don't know yet, but we're watching this play out in real time. Now, for the more, Bitcoin implications here, again, I've been mentioning Sightbringer. I think he's been having really good analysis on this. He just tweets, Japan executed a full spectrum currency defense operation under the branding of a stimulus. Now, going down here a little bit where we talk about what the implications are for Bitcoin, this is where it gets very interesting. This is why I was yesterday kind of battling Nico where he went full bear. And I'm like, I don't know, man. What I'm seeing could still be some tailwinds for 2026. Though there are people on Twitter essentially saying like they're injecting liquidity into the system and you're still being bullish. I'm like, yes, we're still bullish here. Anyways, Japan is always...
Zoom in.
Oh, okay. Japan is always the first domino in a global liquidity chain, and they just tipped it over again. This strengthens the global liquidity backdrop. Japan easing implies the U.S. will eventually ease and reduces the probability of sustained tightening anywhere. Remember, December 1st, QT officially ends. We're seeing liquidity problems in Japan. We're seeing potentially, rate cuts coming. The Fed is just as confused as the markets are. They were pretty much split on whether we should have more interest rate cuts, whether we shouldn't, whether they don't have enough information to have interest rate cuts. But it looks like the super money printing super cycle is upon us. It looks like the money printers are finally about to get turned on. And yes, that means for most people, if you aren't holding assets, you're going to get absolutely wrecked. So this is extremely important for Bitcoin's 2026 arc. It accelerates sovereign and institutional flows. When global liquidity shifts, sovereign funds buy ahead of the curve. ETFs see improved flow environments. Global allocators rotate back into Bitcoin or crypto. This reinforces the long-term bull market architecture because Bitcoin thrives in weak currency environments, fiscal expansion environments, global risk on rotations, and high liquidity regimes. And Japan just activated all four. It is getting insane out there. Now, for everyone probably on Main Street, you may not be following along. This seems like some obscure economic, niche over here in Japan. But if you know what is going on, or rather what Japan's kind of role has been the last 30 years, this is where the signal, I think, is coming from. And as Ben Rickert's account said, the bond market is whispering a warning. And the Bitcoiners are picking up on this. Of course, Larry Lepard goes on, here we go. The big print Japan style. It's just starting, guys. And even further, well, a little trouble in Japan, and they send out a dove to calm everyone down. CME rate cut odds go from 40% to 74%. These guys, These guys are so transparent and obviously in way over their heads. Good luck, Fed. You are going to need it. And this was literally my exact take when I heard of the Fed minutes meeting. I was tweeting, and I just said it a minute ago, the Fed is just as confused as everyone in the market. As Larry said, they are way over their heads. I'm kind of on the side of too little, too late right now. Who knows exactly what's going on? And I know you guys love the memes, and we have a George Bodine one. I'm absolutely convinced that the big print is coming. A mainline liquidity injection to keep the beast lurching from side to side down a narrow hallway. Lawrence Lepard saw it, wrote it, and I believe it. Bitcoin, they need liquidity. So the big print is on the horizon. And then before I pass it off, here is probably the bull case going on for all this money printing happening. Shouts out to Alan B. Watson. He goes, imagine being bearish on Bitcoin right now. The current situation, the U.S. is preparing a $2,000 stimulus check. Japan just launched 130, potentially twice the size $1 billion stimulus package. China has approved a $1.4 trillion stimulus package, and the Fed is officially ending QT on December 1st. The U.S. is issuing $1.9 trillion in treasuries per year. Canada is restarting its quantitative easing program. Global M2 money supply is at a record $137 trillion, and global rate cuts are at 320 plus over the last 24 months. In what world is another wave of inflation not on its way? This is what we've been talking about for a while on this show. This is what Bitcoiners have been talking about for a while. The big print is on the horizon. Now, when Larry Lepard's been talking about the big print for a minute, you know, he would very clearly say, he's like, I don't know when it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And it seems like we might be on the beginning of the big print happening. Of course, we're seeing it happen in Japan. Now, it's going to be very interesting to see how quickly this shifts into the U.S. because you got to remember, the U.S. and Japan are very intertwined. It's not like whatever happens in Japan is completely isolated. You know, they're on an island over there. It's like, no, you got to remember, they are essentially the venture capital wing of the world right now. It's a very simple idea. You take cheap loans from Japan, you invest that everywhere else, and now if they're having huge troubles, they're going to have to inject liquidity. It seems like it's finally getting to the point of global contagion with the money printer. So look, I don't want to doom here. I'm not saying it's all over, but I think this is where the signal's at. I think this is what's showing us what's going on in the markets. And I don't know if you guys have been watching just traditional stocks, S&P 500, QQQ, etc., or the Nvidia stock. Things are whipsawing right now. It is insane what's going on in the markets. Essentially, it feels like no one has any idea what's going on in total markets right now, not just Bitcoin, but every market. And we're starting to see where the signal is coming from. It seems like Bitcoin may have front ran. What was going on in the Japanese bond markets. Again, Bitcoin usually sniffed things out before. And the fact that we saw Bitcoin correct this quickly instead of a slow bleed out, I think is making the case, or at least to me personally, a more bullish case that we could be running it back a lot quicker than we all are expecting. So on the global macro front right now, guys, things are getting very, very interesting. And of course, from our perspective, you need to be holding assets that they cannot print more. And when they're telling you we are going to print more money, you cannot be saving in dollars right now. It is almost like the Bitcoin meme of broken money. It's finally going global, and people are waking up to this. So very interesting stuff going on in Japan. I'm sure we will get some more information by Monday, but this just happened. This is just the breaking news. And, to be honest, guys, I think they are warming up the money printers everywhere right now. So you know what that means. If the 2020 money printer injection was any indication of what's going to happen when the money printers around the world turn on, I don't know, Nico. I know you're being bearish yesterday, but I think 2026 we might be saved by the money printers, bro.
Man, I'll change my mind. I'll change my mind when I'll see it. And I do want to give a shout out to Opti's Pineapple today, and I do want to give a shout out to Opti's lived here memorial, which is great. But anyways, guys, it's going to be a fantastic show. We have also a special guest joining us on today's show. We have the founder of SilentLink, who's calling in today. So he's not going to be showing his face. He's going to be anonymous, but you guys are going to be able to hear him. And essentially what SilentLink is you'll be able to experience borderless connectivity in 160 countries with no KYC, data limits, or expirations. Just pay as you go and enjoy uninterrupted service. And of course, you can pay with Bitcoin, you can pay with Lightning. It's fantastic. So we're going to be talking about that during the culture segment. So we're super happy to have the founder with us today. Anyways, going back to the topic at hand regarding the money printing that Opti sees on the horizon, I do have some memes that I want to show. Here's specifically one from George Bodine. And, again, he's referencing Larry Lepard's book, The Big Print, of course, a mainline liquidity injection to keep the beast lurching from side to side down a narrow hallway. Lawrence Lepard saw it, wrote it, and I believe it, Bitcoin. And of course, here's the meme from Dr. Evil. You guys know the movie Goldfinger. I think, is it Goldfinger?
No, that's the James Bond Austin movie. Powers.
The Austin Powers, yeah. the parody of the Goldfinger movie. And of course, he's talking about liquidity and then, launch the big print. So, yeah. And by the way, simultaneously, what's happening as well is we know that the Federal Reserve will be ending QT starting in December. And if you take a look at the betting market odds, I love the betting market odds. They tend to be the most accurate. When there's money on the line, people make better decisions, right? So right now, it seems like there's a 65% chance that they will decrease to 25 basis points in December. That a couple days ago, before the news broke out of Japan, that probability went up by 34% overnight. So November 21st at 7:35 a.m. So this morning, when the Japan news broke, boom, you had this giant shift. And then we also saw some rumors, we were not able to confirm them or anything, that the Fed is potentially holding an emergency meeting today. But again, those are rumors, not confirmed. But there was a viral X post talking about just that. So I thought that was pretty cool. But anyways, let's see what happens. It's crazy that we've gotten to this point that we're rooting for central banks to print money.
I don't know if I'm rooting. I'm just saying this is what's happening.
But, at the end of the day, guys, it's infinity divided by 21 million. And if central banks start printing records amount of money, then what do you think is going to happen to assets, right? They're going to go through the roof. This is the theory of Lynn Alden, nothing stops this train. This is the theory of Larry Lepard, right? You want to buy hard assets like Bitcoin, of course, like gold. We're big fans of Bitcoin. Obviously, it's called Simply Bitcoin for a reason. But yeah, if you buy assets when the Federal Reserve debases the currency, those assets tend to go through the roof. Most people that own assets are wealthy, and that's where the wealth inequality is created. But again, if you're holding Bitcoin, you're obviously going to benefit when they debase the currency, when they start printing, right? So anyways, that's what we're seeing. This could be a reaction to what is happening in Japan. Again, it seems like things are cracking, things are breaking. Yeah, I mean, of course, the U.S., the whole global economy and the financial system is tied together. We saw that in 2008, right? So you can see a cascading effect. and you'd obviously want to see the Federal Reserve try to get ahead of that. But as Trump has been talking about, this is too late Powell who we're referencing, right? I'm not a big fan of Powell, how the Fed has been acting this year. I think that they've been trying to sabotage the Trump administration just out of their own self-preservation. The Trump administration is very pro-Bitcoin, very pro-crypto, and the previous administration was very anti-crypto, pro-CBDC. If the Fed is looking about self-preservation, they would obviously want the political party in charge that is pro-CBDC, anti-Bitcoin. So that's my thesis. I think a lot of Jerome Powell's moves this year have been politically motivated. And I'm not the only one who has said this, right? You have the Senator Cynthia Lummis of Wyoming. You have Caitlin Long, founder of Custodia Bank, all claiming that the Fed acted very politically. You can make a very strong argument that they helped try to get Kamala Harris elected, right? In terms of how their stance was. What I find interesting is that they have this very hawkish stance when when Trump is in office, but when the previous administration was in office, it was like, money printer go burr, right? So it just seems like they're not acting in a neutral fashion, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Anyways, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to pass it on to our guest. I do want to give him a shout out. Again, this is the founder of SilentLink. We're going to be talking more about them during the culture segment. But Admin, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, friends. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you for joining us, man. So I want to get your thoughts, man. You're obviously a Bitcoiner. You know this. You've been in the industry for a while. What are your thoughts on this? This crazy stuff happening in Japan. Potentially, they're going to print more money. What are your thoughts on this? Is it just it's just the normal course of business, right? Satoshi Nakamoto, after all, did write in the Genesis block, Chancellor on the brink of the second bailout for banks. So Satoshi knew that this was inevitable. He knew that this was going to happen. Admin, what are your thoughts?
Actually, we rarely think about the Bitcoin price and markets because we build our company on Bitcoin standard, and 1 Bitcoin always equals 1 Bitcoin to us. So God help the rest of the people.
I love that. And this is exactly why we have Admin joining us on the show today. And we're very excited to talk about his product later on in the show. Again, it's called SilentLink. You go to silent.link and you can get a KYC, no KYC, no data limits, no expiration, pay as you go, private global eSIM, and you can pay for it using Bitcoin. You can pay for it using Lightning. So yeah, definitely. I'm very excited to talk about that. It's going to be an excellent show. But before we keep going, I do want to keep continuing talking about this, Opti, because we might be on the verge of a meltdown. And before we do that, I do want to give a shout out to everyone watching. We have thousands of people watching across YouTube, across Rumble, across X. So if you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash that like button. And Opti, I'm going to pass it on to you. Opti's our in-house macro expert. He's become that. He's morphed into that. He's transitioned into a macro expert because the situation required him to become a macro expert. So, dude, I wouldn't say you were talking about this earlier on today. What is happening in Japan, and could it potentially cascade in the United States? And how does Bitcoin benefit from all of this?
Well, I think the answer to the first question is yes, this will cascade into the United States. Again, you got to look at the Bank of Japan as essentially, the way I like to kind of frame it is, and I said it a minute ago, they're the VC arm of the central banks. They're the ones that loan out money to other central banks. Essentially, they've had the cheapest debt, the cheapest credit around the world for the last 30 years. And so people would take money out of the Bank of Japan, and then they, of course, invest that everywhere else into, whatever country that they're using. And so, yes, this will fundamentally 100% cascade out into every other markets right now. That's why I said, look, this isn't just about, Japan. It's a tiny it's a tiny country. It's an island. They are not isolated here. Yes, geographically they may be isolated, but when it comes to global finance, they are 100% intertwined into every other economy in the world. So the first answer is fundamentally yes. Without a doubt, this will cascade into every other country economy in the world. The second point of will this be bullish or bearish? That question is a little different, in my opinion. It's hard to really say because on the one hand, we all know what this really means. It means there's cracks in the system. And of course, Bitcoin usually reacts early and stronger and more violent than everywhere else. So if we do see a global economic meltdown right now, this is going to be worse than 2008. This is not just going to be in the US, our economy doing bad. This is going to be literally in every Western country and any significant economy around the world. So hopefully they figure it out, because it could, on the one hand, it could mean a prolonged, really aggressive and brutal bear market. Now, the more bullish take of this is obviously the money printers are turning on. And so if they're going to inject hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars of liquidity into the system, people with money know the game, which is essentially they're going to destroy your purchasing power. The only way to survive the tsunami of liquidity that is coming is you need to be in hard assets, ones that they cannot print, which is obviously gold. It's obviously Bitcoin. A lot of people do like real estate, but I think if we see this global liquidity injection because every economy is struggling, I think a lot of people are going to finally wake up to the Bitcoin thesis that, hey, you want to hold a non-sovereign money. You want to hold something that isn't tied to any nation, any country, any economy. And this is the global measure of value. So if we do find that there is a crack in the system, that we do find that there is panic in the system, then maybe finally people are going to look for an alternative.
And did Bitcoin detect it first? Right.
See, that's what I was thinking.
Did it expect? Because like guys, you have to understand, Bitcoin is the only global asset that is traded 24 hours. The market of Bitcoin doesn't just get turned off, right? Most traditional stock markets, they operate, from time A to time B, then they close. On the weekends, they're closed. Bitcoin is trading 24 hours on a global basis, right? And it also it's difficult for there to be any type of manipulation in comparison to the traditional markets, right? The fact, as a Bitcoiner, the fact that traditional markets have an opening time and a closing time, and then on the weekends they're just shut off, like that to me is like such an alien concept, right? Because I'm just so used to Bitcoin just being on 24/7, right? I think we hit like 79K like in the dead of night, right? Like this is how Bitcoin operates, right? But anyhow, guys, it's going to be a great show.
Wait, before you go, here is Max Kaiser talking about it with the meme. Obviously, he's quote tweeting the Japanese yen intervention, and he goes, "Global QE unlocked, 2.2 mil in play." I think he's kind of trolling with the prediction, but here is, a good visual. This is like the global tsunami that we're potentially on the horizon, that we're potentially seeing. And again, going further, the Larry prophecy has come. It is the time for the big print. So that's what I think a lot of people are seeing. The big print is coming. Global QE is on the horizon. So if they're injecting trillions into the system, again, you need to hold something that they cannot print. And that is obviously, in our opinion, Bitcoin. Now, gold is a good alternative, but we think Bitcoin is going to react stronger and better than gold. So again, it could be the moment where people finally wake up to what Bitcoiners have been saying. It could be a nothing ever happens moment. So, I don't know exactly.
But before we move on to the next topic, by the way, on just hit 500 live viewers on YouTube. Again, over 1,000 live viewers on X and 100 live viewers on Rumble. If you guys are enjoying the show, and of course you're streaming to Nostr, of course. If you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash that like button. Really, really helps with the algos. But I'll push this on to you, Opti. You're calling me a doomer, referencing yesterday's show. My response to you is like, dude, like, if they turn on the money printers, we might have a crazy V-shaped recovery, right? Like extremely quickly, and it could blindside people, actually.
100%. That was kind of my my take when I was talking about my friend saying he's scaling out. There's a lot of black swan events, and obviously we couldn't really forecast this, but it does seem like that is coming. And again, shouts out to, I forget his guy's name, Shino Abe, I believe. But I talked to him this morning, and he told me the bull run's not over, Nico. They are turning on the money printer, so they might have just saved the printer or the bull run by turning on the printer. I don't know. I don't know. I just stay bullish here, okay?
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know this meme, it's a very famous Japanese politician who was very close with the Trump administration, and he unfortunately got assassinated. But there was a meme of him that was going viral of him saving Trump's life, from the afterlife, which so.
Well, he also might have just saved the bull run.
There you go. So Opti's making another meme out of it as well. So anyways, guys, it's going to be an incredible show. We're at 509 viewers on YouTube alone. Again, shout out to everybody watching live. And we have a very special call-in guest today, the founder of SilentLink. You guys are going to want to stay tuned. We're going to be talking about that during the culture segment. Guys, we're going to hit the number segment. We're going to be right back in just a little bit. I want to give a shout out to our partner, StampSeed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? StampSeed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates. Instead of just writing them down on paper, paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo, and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on StampSeed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store. All right, everybody, we are back. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 83,520, block height 924,595, block height 1.67 trillion, Bitcoin versus gold market cap 5.79%, decline from all-time high, it's at 33.8%. So if you're buying Bitcoin right now, you're getting it at a 33% discount. Anyways, I saw Representative Warren Davidson go on Legacy Financial Media yesterday and talk about eliminating long-term capital gain, or I think capital gains tax for Bitcoin, which could be absolutely massive. You keep hearing this get brought up. Trump has brought it up. Warren Davidson has brought it up. Scott Bessent has brought it up. So you keep hearing this over and over and over again. And again, the more you say it, the more you manifest it, the more it gets into people's minds. Jack Dorsey has been a huge proponent of this, right? So again, Bitcoin is money, but if you have to account and do a capital gain or capital loss every time you use Bitcoin becomes very inconvenient to use. So what they're trying to pass in Congress, again, Congress is heavily divided, is they're trying to pass like an exemption, right? So under a certain amount of money, if you use Bitcoin, you get exempt. You don't have to pay the capital gains. Of course, this has not been signed into law, but this is what a lot of people are a lot of people in Congress in the halls of power are trying to push. So let's check out this clip and then we will talk about it.
Congressman Warren Davidson is introducing a new bill to codify Trump's executive order for a U.S. Bitcoin reserve. Congressman Davidson joins me now. Congressman, a series of questions here. Number one, what is a Bitcoin reserve? What does it do? And how do you build it?
Well, first of all, the president created a strategic reserve of Bitcoin in part because the United States government didn't have like a single custodian. You had every agency in the government that might have had an asset, seized an asset, or anything else, any kind of digital asset, they didn't have custody of it. So they were losing track of the private keys. So essentially when you lose your keys, it's like losing a pile of cash.
Yeah.
So they created an organized way and put it under Treasury to say, hey, we're going to have a single custodian for all of the Bitcoin, kind of like Fort Knox for crypto, right? Okay. And then they said, well, not all crypto is created equally. Bitcoin we want to hold on to. It's an appreciating asset over a long period of time. Some of these other things, we should just sell them off and buy more Bitcoin. But they wanted to do it in a deficit neutral way. And I think a lot of people have been like, well, how else do you put money in there? And so we're introducing legislation that not only codifies that executive order, so there's a common sense way to have custody for the Bitcoin and other digital assets, but you can contribute, so when you pay your taxes, you can pay your taxes in Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is currency in that sense, and there's no capital gains. So for people that have held Bitcoin for a long time, they've experienced significant capital gains. When I first took office in 2016, Bitcoin was $500 or $600. Now, over 90,000, it's reached higher, but significant capital gain. So if people simply contribute to paying their taxes,
your bill exempts that. So if I want to pay my taxes, I want to pay it with Bitcoin, I pay with Bitcoin, and there's no capital gains tax because I've made a profit on Bitcoin, very probably, but there's no capital gains taxes if I'm paying my taxes that way. That's it. You've exempted it, right?
That's right. And people say, well, why would you do that? Well, one, it's a way to, in a deficit neutral way, load up Bitcoin. You say, well, but you forego the capital gains. Yeah, but it's also been an appreciating asset. So if 1% of the country had been paying their taxes in Bitcoin, you would have had a $12 trillion of gain over the last 10 years. Now, as they always say in the financial world, past performance does not guarantee future returns. But if you look at it, the supply in the long run is fixed and the demand is big, not just in the United States, but globally. So there are a lot of other.
So absolutely massive. Again, more initiatives. Now, does he have the votes to pass this in the House? No, absolutely not. The probability that this gets passed is very low. Senator Lummis, with Bitcoin Act 2.0, again, pushing these bills forward. But I will talk about the wins. The Genius Act, the Stablecoin Act in the United States, it's a big win. And then the Clarity Act, which looks like it's going to pass. And that's why you see the legacy media attacking the industry as a whole. You see articles from the New York Times, you see articles from the Financial Times, and it all seems like it's coordinated, right? All at this simultaneously at the same time. What a coincidence, right? It's because they don't want the Clarity Act to pass. They don't want the Clarity Act to pass because, again, that further entrenches Bitcoin and into the traditional financial system. So anyways, I'm going to pass it on to Opti. Opti, I mean, that would be huge, man, because that's a lot of tax savings. Like, I know that Mr. Hodl, like one of his biggest gripes, like one of the biggest things that he cares about is like, look, like, don't really care about a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Don't really care about any of this. But, getting rid of long-term capital or getting rid of capital gains on Bitcoin would be massive.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before. If the Trump administration does that, then undisputed GOAT, Bitcoin superpower of the world. Though my real question through that is, maybe I'm nitpicking here, and obviously we don't have more data here, but is that just eliminating capital gains if you pay your taxes with it, or is that across the board? If it's across the board, sounds great. If it's just a kind of an exemption for paying your taxes on it, I don't know if it's the win we think it is.
It's definitely not a huge win, but I think it's definitely moving things.
I guess it's moving the Overton window.
It's moving the Overton window. We have a window behind us with a beautiful sunrise, and it's moving that window ever so slowly. Just moving the window. Moving. You should do the smooth transition, man. Smooth.
Okay, wait. How do I do that again?
The smooth.
Oh, here we go.
The smooth transition, bro. There we go. See, better. But anyways, guys, it's gonna be a great show. I do want to ask, I do want to ask Admin. Admin, do you have any thoughts on this, real quick, before we move on to the next segment?
We are actually a global company, and we have people from pretty much a dozen countries of the world, so they all have different laws about capital gains. Some of them have this tax, some of them do not, so difficult to have one position. But we are definitely against tax in any form.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you there. Clearly, Admin is a hardcore Bitcoiner. Love this, right? Love this. Yes, decrease the size of government. Completely agree. And it's I not a big fan. It is the law, but just not a big fan of taxation, obviously. All right, everybody, it's going to be a great show. We're going to head into, I don't know if we should do a switcheroo, Opti, and we should hit the culture first, talk about SilentLink, because I know the audience wants to hear about it.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So we're gonna hit the culture first, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna talk to Admin about his product, SilentLink. We're going to ask him all the questions. We're going to be right back in just a bit after this commercial break. I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at HIVEDigitalTech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitcoinBend.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Bend's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank, and you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys, tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth, and join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to BitcoinBend.io, join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom. All right, everybody. I do want to pull up Admin's website. We're going to be talking about SilentLink today. Again, if you guys appreciate privacy, you guys definitely want to check out Admin's website. And again, we dropped a link in the description. Of course, this is legal. You can do this. This is just about maintaining your privacy. You can pay in Bitcoin, you can pay in Monero, you can pay in Lightning and USDT, and other cryptos. But yes, I love what Admin was saying in the beginning about this about him being a Bitcoiner and him thinking about being Bitcoin first. So admin, I'm gonna ask you some questions, man. How did you develop this? You know, again, I love the no borders out of the no borders concept. I love the fact that it's no KYC required. It's legal for this specific type of service. And I love that there's no data limits. Could you talk a little bit more about this product, because this product seems like it's built for Bitcoin privacy minded people.
Yes, this product is built with Bitcoiners' interests in mind and targeted for Bitcoiners, of course. Actually, it appeared thanks to MetaDel, who several years ago put a lot of effort into promoting BTC Pay server. At this time, we are actually resellers of telecom services for more than 15 years, and we got interested in Bitcoin more than 10 years ago. So we kind of looked at this, and after BTC Pay server appeared and we deployed it on our server, we just looked at this beautiful user interface, and instantly I wanted to fill it up with numbers. So I was just looking for the product. We were in discussion for a long time, and finally eSIMs arrived that we can sell just globally and provide services globally. So the product kind of meets the market here. We got the product that Bitcoiners want, and we finally we found the best audience for this product. This is a paying audience. This is a very loyal audience, and it doesn't produce any abuse, so it's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. So guys, yes, it has it has all the information on silent.link. And again, this is respecting your anonymity as a Bitcoiner. Again, you can pay with Bitcoin, right? So very, very cool stuff. Again, if you're a global traveler like I am, I have to go to conferences all the time. And again, sometimes I have to cross a border, and my SIM card doesn't work, right? This is the perfect product for you as a Bitcoiner. Also, too, I have multiple phone lines. I think it's a great way to to protect your privacy and your anonymity. I have a family phone line, I have a personal phone line, I have a business phone line. So, again, like these are all things that you can do to protect your privacy, because what a lot of people are doing, I don't recommend using a phone number for two-factor authentication, but some people still do that. And the problem is that when these huge data leaks happen, like the one that came out of Ledger, where Ledger just leaked people's name, addresses, phone numbers, what tends to happen is the attacker knows the phone number. And if you have your 2FA set with your phone number, well, guess what? They know your name, they know your phone number, and that's been one of the most crazy attacks that happens, right? That people find out. They call the phone company and they try to convince the phone company to switch the number to a number they can control, and then they start receiving your texts, they start receiving your calls, and then that's how they take over your accounts. But if you have private lines, it's a very way to mitigate. It's a very good way to mitigate against that risk, right? So yeah, go to silent.link. The co-founder admin, he's a hardcore Bitcoiner. Again, they take Bitcoin, they take Lightning, they take other alternative cryptocurrencies, they take Tether, again, experience borderless connectivity, 160 countries with no KYC, data limits, or expirations. Just pay as you go and enjoy uninterrupted service. No borders, works automatically in 160 plus countries. No KYC required, no data limits. pay as you go, flat fee, no daily limits or speed throttling, no expirations, funds and accounts never expire. Very self-explanatory, not complicated whatsoever. So if you guys want to find out more, go to silent.link today. I also want to thank the founder admin for joining us on today's show. Admin, thank you so much for joining us, man. I appreciate it. And I love what you're building. This is a product for Bitcoiners, and it seems like it's been built by Bitcoiners.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure for us.
Thank you for joining us, admin. Appreciate it. So, guys, again, go to silent.link if you want to find out more. Guys, stay tuned. We're going to hit the news segment. We have tons to cover today. We're going to be right back just a bit. I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store. I want to give a shout out to our partner, Bitkey. If you already self-custody your Bitcoin, you know the deal with hardware wallets by now. Complex setups, clumsy interfaces, and a seed phrase that can be lost, stolen, or forgotten. Bitkey fixes that. Bitkey is a multi-sig hardware wallet built by the team behind Square and Cash App. It packs a cryptographic recovery system and built-in inheritance feature into an intuitive, easy-to-use wallet with no seed phrase to sweat over. It's simple, secure, self-custody without the stress. Time named Bitkey one of the best inventions of 2024. Get 20% off at bitkey.world. That's BITKEY.world with the code SIMPLY. All right, everybody, we are back. I do want to, yes, guys, go to bitkey.world. Get yourself one of the easiest hardware wallets to use on planet Earth, the Bitkey hardware wallet made by our friends over at Square, who also designed the Cash App, which is, again, very easy to use. So again, go to bitkey.world, use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off.
And I think they're on sale right now. I think they're $99 for the Black Friday.
You get $99. You can get it for $99 because it's Black Friday. So again, you want to get it. We want to get it today while supplies last.
Does the Simply Bitcoin
I don't know. Yeah,
discount work on that too?
Probably don't use the Simply Bitcoin discount because you'll probably get
use it both.
Use them
Maybe
both.
it works.
Use them both. But anyways, let's get to today's news. What are we talking about today? So, guys, this is crazy. I could have never have imagined this. You had Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was at the grand opening of the Pubkey, the famous Bitcoin bar from New York. They opened another branch in Washington, D.C. Think about all the cities. They could have opened one in Miami. They could have opened one in LA. They could have opened one in Dallas, right? For some reason, Opti still likes Dallas.
Dallas is great. All right.
And, they could have opened one in California. But no, they chose Washington, D.C. out of all places. That's extremely strategic. And take a look at this. Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was at the grand opening. So now you had President Trump visit the Pubkey bar in New York. You had Senator Cynthia Lummis visit the Pubkey bar. Like, I mean, yeah, I think you had RFK to like, it's like basically it's like a rite of passage at this point that they're going to this Bitcoin bar, right? Which I think is a big deal. Anyways, moving on to the next bit of news.
Wait. Can I pop in here real quick?
Of course.
I think, look, this is me speculating here, but I think the significance of this is very underrated, considering what we're seeing from the Trump administration. I know the price has been in the gutter this year. It's like Bitcoin's lost year. You know, it's potentially going to be a negative year on the yearly chart. But maybe I'm reading into this, but it does seem like this is sort of some signal here of what is coming down the pipeline. And I think this might be one of those moments where you see something like this, and in a year or so, you look back and it was like, it was so obvious. It was so obvious what's going to happen. But I mean, you could write this off as like just a nothing burger. But I think the fact we have, you know, Treasury Secretary, or is it Secretary? It's Treasury Secretary, right?
Treasury Secretary.
All right. The Treasury Secretary of the United States hanging out at the grand opening of a Bitcoin bar. I don't know. I mean, it does seem like a pretty significant moment, even though it's like a nothing burger. It's like, okay, a guy goes to a bar. Like, who cares? It's like the start of a bad joke. But I think in hindsight, we're going to look back on this and it's going to be like, yeah, that was obvious.
No, it's huge. I mean, it's massive, bro. Like, it's literally massive. Like, the fact that the United States Treasury Secretary, remember, we went from, oh my God, I forgot her name. What was her name again? Janet Yellen to Treasury Secretary. Janet Yellen, which like they attacked the industry in so many different ways, to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent going to a Bitcoin bar, right? Like it literally couldn't go from one extreme to the other, even if you try. Like the reality is stranger than fiction. This is like way out of what we would have expected. I can't even believe this even happened. Like, I can't even believe that you have a pro Bitcoin president in the White House, right? So yeah, pretty crazy in my opinion. I think the significance of it is huge. Next thing I'll put out today, guys, and then we'll wrap up the show. Is a post by Alpha Zeta. He's gonna be coming back. He's gonna be coming back real soon. You guys are gonna be hearing more about him. But anyways, days of glory, months of pain. Below is BTC data to 2014. Ranking drawdowns from an all-time high. We're currently sitting in drawdown number 7 out of 74 episodes. Does it mean we're bottoming? Impossible to know. The Hall of Pain so far, 2017 to 2018, 83%. 2021 to 2022, 76%. 2014 to 2015, 61%. 2021 Q2, 53%. 2025 October to November, 34% ongoing. Crashes are violent. Usually recoveries are slow, boring, and emotionally exhausting. But again, BTC is unpredictable. Look at the big cycles. 2014 to 2015, 119 days down, 335 days to get back to the old high. 2017 to 364 days down, 716 days to reclaim the peak. 2021 to 2022, 378 days down, 469 days to a new high. On the bigger ones, recovery can take around 2 times longer than the fall. Zooming out, every one of those red horror shows eventually became a tiny dent on the left side of the chart. And this is what he's talking about, right? Most people only remember the all-time high print. What we actually live is drawdown. If you want the few days at all-time high, you have to survive months in -30 to -50 from the top. Purgatory. Occasionally visits to -70 to -80%, aka hell. This is why positioning size and time horizon matter more than any price target. Bitcoin rewards patience brutally and punishes leverage. Amen to that. So guys, we're going to leave it at that for the Friday show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys go check out SilentLink. Very, very thankful for him joining us on the show today. And yeah, guys, if you guys enjoyed today's show, you know what to do. Smash the like button, share it with your friends, and we'll see you guys back on Monday. And hopefully the price isn't at 50K at that point. So
nah, not gonna happen.
Anyways, guys, enjoy the weekend. Spend time with the fam. Go outside, get some sun, touch some grass. We'll be back like always. Love y'all. See you guys later.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.